We've got 10 seconds remaining. Looks like it's going to be a draw. Looks like it's heading for a draw. Maguire down the line. North. Oh! Ryan Hall! Ryan Hall scores the lead and wins the league leading
Hi everybody and welcome to the Lot Pod, the Leeds Rhinos Lot 17A podcast, who are kindly sponsored by ACDMB. They are a branding and creative design agency based in Farsley, Leeds. They create standout brands, so if any companies out there need a new brand or a brand refresh, just get in touch with ACDMB. And as always, we thank them for their support in sponsoring us. This is we are incredibly lucky recently because this is another Lot Pod special. We've really been smashing these, and thankfully we've got another great guest alongside us. Alongside me for this one, as always, is Statman Reese. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Obviously, disappointed to meet Mr. One yesterday with the Welsh hero that is Iestyn, but I'm assuming by the time this goes out, that heard me shouting Cymru and Biff interrupting the podcast
heard
in
you
about 5-6
gate
minutes.
crashing.
Yeah,
in your Welsh flag.
but no, I'm really looking forward to this one. We've had this one in the pipeline for a bit, and it's going to be really, really interesting and a really different type of guest.
Joining us also is one of our regulars. Is a member now, official member.
Oh, am I?
Of the Lot squad. It is, of course, Laurie. How are you doing, Loz?
Hi, yeah, Sam, mate. Sam, really good. Thank you.
Nice to see you as always. Yeah, Reese. Who do the intro? Who do we have joining us for this Lot Pod special today?
So today we've got head groundsman Ryan Golding, 19-year career. I believe he's worked his way up all the way up from apprentice up to head groundsman, or he can tell me
slowly working his way up to CEO.
Yeah, so he'll be after Rob Oates' job pretty soon, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll have to see if we get Sherman the Pug on as well.
Well, that'll be nice. That would be a special guest.
That would be a special guest. But yeah, I shall introduce head groundsman Ryan Golding. Ryan, how are you?
Right, guys, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, thank you. Busy week?
Busy 7 years.
Busy 7 years.
Specifically 7 years.
yeah. We sort of work off the flooding in 2015 now. I have a laugh with my line manager, the operations director, Sue Ward, and we say, can we just have a normal year? And we just never get a normal year.
Please.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
We'll
brilliant. Well, thanks for coming on, Ryan. Can we just first start with, because obviously, as Reese said there, you have been at the club for quite some time now. So do you just want to take us back to the start and how you ended up at the club and kind of how it's progressed into the role that you have currently?
Yeah, sure. So a sort of quick snapshot of me is I'm 35 years old, so obviously I don't know how old you guys are, but anybody around my age will realise that when you're 13, 14, 15 at high school, the careers guys turn around to you and say, right, we want you to choose a career for the rest of your life. And you don't know what you're having for tea. So
I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So fortunately enough, this is a true story. I was in the careers room at school. I went to Cardinal Heenan High School in Moortown, and I was reading a careers book, and there was a guy in there called Paul Burgess, who was head groundsman at Arsenal at the time. So me being me, I sent a letter off to him, and I was able to do a work experience with him at Arsenal when I was 15.
Wow, bloody hell!
At Highbury, which was obviously a great experience, and I probably wasn't the best behaved at that age, but it was a great experience for me, and it made me realise that this is the profession that I wanted to get into. And from there, I knew I was leaving school, and I did all my GCSEs, and I was sending off places to do this job, and there was no way coming back. And then literally the day before I was going to go into greenkeeping, the ex-head groundsman Jason Booth came up to my house and said we've got an apprenticeship for Ryan if he wants it.
Wow.
And that was 2003. And then I've been here ever since. So all the way up from apprentice, all the way through the assistant roles to 2014 when Jason went, that I got the head man's job.
You took it.
Yeah. So he left conveniently before the flooding then?
Yeah, he left conveniently, yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing to do with probably financially beneficial, but definitely convenient.
So what team have you got under you then, Ryan? How big's your team in terms of the groundskeeping side of things?
So there's 4 of us all together. We've just took on an apprentice, Kieran, who's from Pontefract, and I've got 2 guys underneath me, my assistants Stan and Leon, who have been here. It's over 10 years now each that they've both been here. They've both been here since they were 18 as well, 18, 19, and it's we sort of got Kieran. I think it was about 6 months ago now. The 3 of us, there's a lot of work to do, especially physical and mental work, all in one. To get the 4th guy really, really helps us. So there's us 4.
Is it in the criteria? Is it in the job description, the job advert that you have to be a Leeds fan? I'm going to assume that you all are Leeds fans.
It's hard not to be. You can't. Your life, your mood, your everything. Your everything revolves around this club because it has to, and it's probably times 100 more for us because the job is so time consuming. I mean, the amount of interviews that I've given lads over the years now and things like that, the first thing I say to them, our head of HR, Sarah Tate, sometimes has a bit of a go at me because I'm quite hard in the interviews on guys because this will take up 99% of your life. You do have to sacrifice everything to do this, not just because it's here, but this profession as well. And to be any good at it, you have to work around the weather and fixtures and last minute changes and 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and not sleeping for 2-3 days at a time and stuff. And it can cause havoc. So I like to be honest like that. But fortunately enough for me, I enjoy that flexibility and that not knowing what's coming sort of thing.
I think I'd walk out the interview at that point. I'd be going, that's not enough time to play Football Manager. Can't do that.
Got to work Friday night. See ya.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you want to work in professional sport, you're going to work in everybody else's downtime, aren't you? So
precisely.
The older I've got, I think the more firmer I've got with that. The more I've sort of turned around and said, well, if guys, if you don't like it, and not just in this club and stuff like that, you see a lot of young guys in our profession and stuff, and they don't last very long because they don't realise just what has to go into it.
Boxing Day, things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should say that actually. Boxing Day is. Everybody says Boxing Day, like it is great, and the traditional side of it and stuff like that. But purely from my job point of view, it's really difficult because with it being such an early kickoff, 11:30, I always like to have a bit of breathing space in case anything happens. So in December, obviously, we're in a dangerous area for snow. So I have not drank on Christmas Day. I drank once COVID when we didn't play Boxing Day. On Christmas Day, I do not drink Christmas Day whatsoever because I'm constantly coming into the stadium, and we had a bad forecast. Did we play it on last year, Boxing Day? We did, didn't we? Yeah. We had a bad forecast Christmas Day night, so I was here from sort of 2-3 o'clock in the morning just in case we got that snow coming because I didn't have a lot of time if I needed to start clearing the pitch or start clearing the car parks and organising contractors to come in with ploughs and stuff. So it's safe for the crowd to come and because obviously it's not just the pitch. The games can quite easily be called off for access problems for pedestrians and the crowd and stuff like that. So it does tend
to be that way, especially like in football and other sports. The pitch is fine and things, but it's like the access to, like you said, to the ground. It's not unsafe. So these are all things that people won't be aware of. But now you're speaking of them, kind of shining a light on them.
Yeah. You don't really expect people to to understand it, because it's people's enjoyment. They wouldn't see it. They sort of pay the money and expect to see a great game and be entertained and things like that. But the amount of ducks that have to be lined up just from all the different departments, never mind ours, to get to the Friday, especially in winter, the start of the season, the February-March time is, I can't plan to go away or anything like that. I always try and go away in sort of the start of January and stuff with my missus, Rhiannon, because it's easier for me to organise that rather than February, when we know the start of the Super League season is coming. Me and my lads, we know we have to be switched on, and all the equipment has to be ready, and things like snow shovels. As daft as it seems, we must have about 50 snow shovels because you never know when you're going to need them, and when you do need them, there's going to be none. There's going to be none to get. So it's things like that people probably wouldn't see, but it allows us. The aim of the game is to get the game on. No matter how we do that is the aim of the game. So from experience now of as we said, nearly 20 years now, I understand all the intricacies of not just the pitch and the stadium, but the surrounding areas. And just a quick example, we played Hull a few years ago, and it snowed on the morning of the game, and somebody went in, got tackled into touch, didn't they? And we had all the snow piled down the north stand side, and I'm having to ring Rob and stuff like that because I didn't have time. The snow came down that quick. We had a couple of foot in the space of an hour at 7, 8 a.m. Wow. I couldn't physically take it out of the stadium, so I knew that I was going to have to put it at the edges. But then that obviously affects us commercially. So then I'm having to speak to Rob and say, there's nothing I can do. I have to put the snow in front of the sponsor boards and stuff. But because you're on Sky as well, that just doesn't affect us as a club. That affects Super League and stuff like that. So then you have to talk to Rodri and stuff. But ultimately, number one, it is. It's big, and I've got to try and pack down as much as I can so people can see it from the camera at the top of the south stand, and make sure as well it's away from play as much as I can, because from the touchline to the edge of the pitch, you've got to have a 3-metre perimeter. Minimum as well, so the match commission has to sign all that off as well. So to line all them ducks up again just for when you get inclement weather, it does sort of stack up.
That's extraordinary when you think like that, because I actually remember that whole game, and I remember trying to go into Leeds because I work in the centre of Leeds, and I remember thinking that morning when it was coming down, like, this game ain't going to happen. This game will not happen because the amount of snow that were coming down. I remember it thinking, they're going to call it off in the morning. And I remember looking at my phone later in the morning thinking, oh, the game's on. There's been, even Gary Everington were going, yeah, the game's on. This is
the man you've got to thank.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, you can imagine especially mornings like that, my phone's red hot. So it's you're dealing with your heads of department, to Gary, to Paul Caddick. You're dealing with Sky Sports, and the person I'm on the phone to more than anybody, Sue, because I'm having to say that and hang my hat on as well, knowing from experience that that game as an example, I could see that we was going to get heavy snow in the morning, and then I knew we had a really small window to get as much snow off the pitch as possible. The undersoil heat was on full, so it was never going to freeze. So I knew we only had a set amount of time, because I knew there was rain coming late afternoon, and if we'd have got rain on top of the snow, we'd have waterlogged very, very quickly because it had melted the snow very quickly. But I saw it getting mild as well, so I knew that I didn't have to start on the Western Terrace or the South Stand Terrace at the bottom where the snow had drifted in, because we didn't have the roof, because it was being done, wasn't it, the South Stand. So I knew that it was going to thaw. So from experience, I knew that I had to deal with my priorities, which was the car park out here in the pitch. So there's a lot of communication needed as well.
So what's
quite the operation. Go on, Rich.
So what's your remit then? So you've got obviously you've got Henley Stadium, and you've got the training grounds down at Kirkstall. Is there anything else that you look after that we're not aware of?
There's all sorts. Yeah, there's anything to do with the rugby club as a whole. Any property, anything you see green or that grows, it's my remit. So bushes, trees, memorial garden, pitch, Kirkstall. One of my lads looks after Stanley, because that's obviously where our youth team play reserves and stuff. So Dan, as part of the relationship with the club and stuff, he's employed by Stanley. So that gives us a great link with them, and we can prepare the pitch up to the standard that's required for our players to build through to the first team and stuff. And Dan's very good in his own right, but it allows us as a club. So we always try and say whenever any of our teams are playing, little things like whether it's the women or any youth teams, we always have blue and amber post pads and flags as well, because I think we should. And Neil at Centurion's brilliant with that as well. So whenever we try and do that as well. So there's other little things as well. I get pulled everywhere, so I have to do a lot of travelling as well.
Gary Hamilton's back garden as well, do you?
No, I don't actually. No. Although I did give him some fertiliser for the garden, but I didn't chase him up on that.
And then when, obviously, Headingley since its redevelopment, has held boxing events. You know, Josh Waddington's fought there. What's the implications in the process and operation of something like that, and what kind of involvement do you have in terms of the pitch and the ground and surrounding areas?
So with that, any sort of large scale event, and that's going to happen more and more, especially here moving forward. The devil's in the detail. Everything is planning, and there's things that logistically as well, how we are as a stadium, that's challenging, because obviously we've only really got for access onto the pitch, we've only really got car park E or car park F. So you've got your huge wagons that have to turn up. I had to do a lot of visiting and speaking to all of the groundsmen from everywhere about what different boards were available and things like that. And I had to research your weight distribution, how quickly it could be taken on and off. Fortunately enough, I came across a really, really good guy and really good set of boards, TerraTrack, and he's an Aussie guy, and his name's Adam Gibson, and he's a massive Sydney Roosters fan. True story. You just couldn't write it, and yeah. So we a lot of planning went into that. The boxing especially, and the rig and D-rig, and maybe something that people don't see, because we have to be very conscious of the residents around the stadium. So with rigging and de-rigging, we can only do it within certain times. So other stadiums, when, for example, Wembley, where they can rig in 14, 15, 24 hours, they can go through the night. Week out.
Full access.
So, so instantly that may add on to us another 24, 48 hours where the boards are on the pitch, which can be crucial. And the work that we had to put in after the boxing as well was really, really huge. To get us to the point where we had a decent surface for the end of the season, and it's not just the grass itself. We can push that through, especially in the growing season and stuff. It's the profile. As soon as the levels and stuff are fine, because the boards did their job, and to be honest as well, the management team from boxing, Matchroom and stuff, they were brilliant as well, which I think is huge. But we after things like that when you have that, it means that you do need to have a renovation pretty soon after it, like we did a few weeks ago.
So before we talk about that renovation, then you didn't ask Gary or Paul Caddick to have one of these removable pitches like they have at Tottenham to come underneath.
One in, one out.
Yeah, it wasn't in the budget, was it?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So was that renovation that you did this summer as a result of that boxing event then, or was that always planned as a result of that?
No, I'd planned in a particular renovation going on with Sue since last year, and the directors Rob and Gary and stuff, and Nige, that we needed to do a renovation. We were desperate. We hadn't done it through COVID. I mean, take COVID as an example. We when everybody was on furlough, there was only me. It was weird. It was the most surreal feeling ever. For weeks on end, there was just, it felt like me. So I was having to cut the pitch, and then I was having to go to Kirkstall and get all that cut, and then we were trying to plan, because we didn't know when Super League was going to start, and then it was like, it's going to start then, and then by the way, do you think we can be a central venue? All right, what date's that? Okay, I need to start ramping up the pitch now because I'd essentially put it to sleep. Because we didn't want to spend, we didn't want to do anything financially with it because it'd be daft. We didn't know how long COVID was gonna last. So it was getting to the stage because everyone was furloughed. I was picking my wife up, who was working in the hospitals and stuff, and she was having to come and help me pull the bins out full of grass to get emptied and stuff like that. So it's quite a weird time really. But we needed to do the renovation because we hadn't done it since 2019, and it's in groundsmanship terms, it's called an annual renovation. So it's something that you should do every year. It's just our business model and the way our sport is because of February to October that we can't do it every year, and I have to try and manipulate and find a window to be able to do it. Yeah. It's huge, and people sometimes get a bit confused between reconstruction and renovation. So the reconstruction that we did back in 2012, when we had a whole new pitch and it was dug out, that's completely different to what we did a few weeks ago. We literally, in layman's terms, just imagine we bought a huge, like a wood planing that you use. We brought a huge wood planing and we just planed off the top 30 mil off the pitch and then started again, just because after all the rolling and all the fertilizer, it creates sulfur. You get what's called black layer, you get organic matter, you get thatch, and it's like sponge on top of the surface. So when you rain, it doesn't drain away, it doesn't go through the profile. So essentially, you need to take all that away, and then you need to start again. It's straightforward for football clubs because obviously they have the end of season, and they'll have a few weeks worth of concerts, met their income from that, and then they'll have 6 to 8 weeks until the start of the season. So they just set the top off, and nobody really bothers about it. But it's a bit different with us because obviously we're in the middle of the season, so you're a lot more under the spotlight. But I'm very proud of doing things like that because it certainly is a huge challenge to not just plan that and to execute it and to get to where we are now. I think is absolutely brilliant.
I mean, that pitch looked immaculate for that Wigan game, but it still looks great now. But I think that was just so nice. The first home game coming back and seeing that pitch, it was stunning, wasn't it? Yeah,
thank you. We worked very hard on it, and people maybe see it sometimes on my social media and stuff, but to know the detail of it is really quite a skill. It's something that you can learn. You have to go to college to do this job. Absolutely, really. You have to study sports turf at your places like Myerscough and Aston Bryan and things like that. So you generally have to study for around sort of 5 to 6 years to gain your qualifications and stuff like that. But nothing beats the actual experience of doing the job itself. It's huge. Just while you reminded me, actually, I think I did this earlier because I wanted to show you. I think it'd be because people have sort of a misconception. So that, can you see that?
Yeah.
That is what we're growing grass in. That is the pitch. That's why. That's the pitch. So it's fibre sand. You have a fibre sand pitch. So these little horsehairs here that you see here.
A pitch in a glass.
Yeah. These excuse the pint glass as well, by the way. These are polypropylene fibres that are mixed in with the root zone. So essentially, we grow grass in this because sand drains quicker than soil. So every modern pitch that you see now are all sand-based pitches. Yeah. So a lot of them are stitched, or the majority of them are. We're not stitched. We're just reinforced. So everything that I do is working on the roots because I have to get the roots down so it holds everything together, and so it holds up to play as well.
Unbelievable. When it was the Summer Bash the other week, especially on that new pitch, I bet you were fearing the worst, weren't you? Especially like after a few games on there. What was you like about like Saturday night? Well, I bet you was getting a bit nervous seeing all the big lads from like Halifax and Bradford and Leon Fed hitting it.
Yeah, I think the older I get, the less. What's the way of saying it? The less bothered I am, if that makes sense. Because things like that, they're the things that we want to have here. They're external income. It's a great event to have here. at the stadium and for the club itself. It's a very long weekend again for things that people don't see, like the operations teams and the cleaners and stuff like that. Just the change around of the changing rooms and stuff all the time. And there was quite a bit of wear on the pitch. The main thing wasn't actually the games. The two things you can take away from that is generally what you find is from the level, especially sort of below Super League, you can tell it is when you go on the pitch afterwards, because a lot of the wear isn't past the 20-metre marks going towards the wings. A lot of it is middle base.
Yeah,
there isn't a lot going out wide. And the second thing is the warm-ups. The warm-ups we had to move around because when you do the warm-ups in the same place, as you can imagine from the glass that I just showed you, it doesn't take a lot to start churning it up. Once you sort of lose it, it's really difficult to get it back with our grow lights and stuff like that. So we try and save it right at the start rather than try and recover it.
So you kind of touched on it earlier about the disastrous Kirkstall floods at the Rhinos training ground. When did you first become aware that it was? What was it, in the morning, the night before? When were you like, right, shit, this is disaster 101?
We knew the river levels were rising from the couple of weeks before. We can see it, and there's a measuring station at Kirkstall Abbey that we can from the Environment Agency that we have access to. And I could see it Christmas Day morning. I looked at the forecast, but I wasn't worried because it never happened before.
No.
So not on Kirkstall side, Nobby Field side it had happened, but not on Kirkstall side. So I wasn't hugely worried. We'd already put some sandbags in place and stuff like that. But then when it started to get to 7, 8 in the morning, I could see it, and then all of a sudden the picture started to waterlog as well. I can't remember for the life of me the ref that day. I think it was Ben. Ben Taylor. So like everyone's on it, me saying, is the pitch going to be okay? And then all of a sudden, Kirkstall's flooding or no? So my lads are running up and down, like in the cars, going from Kirkstall to the stadium. We're having to do a bit here, and then we're realising Kirkstall's got the river's coming over. So like they're running in with Steve Burton, who's the site manager down there, and they're trying to grab as much as they can from downstairs because the medical department's downstairs. So they've got we have the ultrasound and everything down there and paperwork. So they're having to put everything on desks and try and get as much as they can up upstairs and stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to get this game on at 11:30 up here and stuff. And yeah, it was a bit of a crazy morning. And then when we saw it like go over, we just all stood back and went, "Oh my god!" I'm making phone calls on like sort of Boxing Day evening to guys who I know within the industry.
Yeah,
we're trying to brainstorm ideas of when and how I can get rid of whatever's going to be left. If there is I didn't know there was going to be the amount of silt that were going to be left from the river. So I'm having to make plans, and obviously it's around Christmas time. Fortunately enough, like I said before, people in our industry, we never sleep. We never have holidays. Professional sport never ever stops.
No.
And plus as well, I don't, and us as a club and me as well, I don't tend to use anybody who doesn't who respects us as a club and who wants to work with us as a club as well. I think they have to have an interest within rugby as well. So it was not a bad time.
I remember it was crazy.
I'm going to just remove you, Laurie.
Try and come back in, Laurie. Sound like a drunk Dalek.
Let's see if is he still going? No, he's gone. Well, I'll let him come back in when he's back. How long did it take until the training pitches were actually fully operational again?
So we couldn't do anything until we were coming into the growing season. And once the soil temperatures had lifted, because it'd just be a waste of time. And also as well, we needed the silt to dry out. So we brought in, it was the same machine that we used for the renovation up here. So I was going down to our main contractors, the Premier Pitches, they're based in Johnfield. So I'm going down to the farm down there and speaking with Carl, who owns it, and Russ and John and stuff down there. And we're drawing and we're trying to come up with plans of the best way of doing this. And the silt was that heavy, like the bearings on the machine was snapping every few runs and stuff. So we were having to replace bearings all the time. And I think we started in the start of April, and then we sort of got the pitches back ready for, I think it was mid-May, maybe the end of May, something like that. As soon as the temperatures lifted, we were able to get the pitches back. But I think something that was sort of really played at the time, or Pete always said at the time, should I say, that was really tough, because that period when the team wasn't at the training ground, and it coincided with a really bad downturn in form, that was really, really tough. And people made light of it and made a joke, but it was seriously, it was at the stage in winter where I'm on the phone 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night with Jason Davidson and Mac and stuff, and we're organising training for the next morning because the forecast had changed. So it'd be like, if we knew snow was coming, right, that's fine. We know snow's coming. We'll stick the undersoil heating on at the stadium so we can guarantee the session. But the stadium's really, really sort of showing wear and tear now. I'm conscious that we're in season as well, and we're miles away from the growing season. So can we stick to 40 minutes? And lads were turning up. We were training up at Leeds Uni. They were great. And down at Middleton Sports Centre, and lads are getting changed out the back of the boot. Like Sunday League. And these are professional sportsmen.
Yeah.
And that were a really, really tough period. And I think that's something that I think the end of that 15, especially with the lads, that when we got to the final in 17, it really, really meant something to us in 17 as well. From all the bad times that we went through in sort of 16 as well, it really meant something in 17.
Yeah, it was special.
So the pitches behind the training ground, the ones that don't seem to be used anymore, there's still some rugby pitches, there's still some rugby posts on there, but it looks a bit overgrown. Are we not? Are they part of the club anymore? Or because I can see when you get the training to Leeds, are we still using them, or is there any plan to use them again?
There's plans. Yeah. There's plans, not necessarily to use them to play. There's a lot of plans at the moment that are being discussed at the moment. They're still full of silt from the flooding, because the only access we had onto there was a 1-ton bridge with a 1-ton limit with 7.5 foot wide access next to the bridge pub. So I couldn't get any machinery down there to complete any works and stuff like that. So at the moment, that's in the hands of certain people, if that makes sense. But there is some plans.
Okay, fair enough.
I know, just from your Twitter, Ryan, following you on Twitter and things, you are not, I agree with you, by the way, but you are not a fan of 4G artificial pitches. I'm just going to give you a platform now to kind of inform people why they're wrong, why they're rubbish. I think they're rubbish because I think you're just covering the planet in plastic and it's disgusting and horrible. I'm going to give you a platform now to kind of tell us and inform people why 4G is pants.
I think when you work in my job, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a groundsman, we have a 3G, and without our 3G, especially in inclement weather, we wouldn't be able to take half of training, especially in pre-season.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, they're absolutely perfect. When it comes to professional play at the top level and at the elite level, I strongly believe they do not have a place. How can topped up car tires and a plastic rug mirror what groundsmen produce or what grasses? It's crazy. Anybody who installs something like that, to be completely blunt and honest, it is a financial decision. It's a financial decision because no player wants to play on it.
We had one at our local rugby union club, but obviously that meant the money we generated from that was that we got more games from Yorkshire Rugby Union coming over there. It meant we could get, you could hire it out for football and for five-a-sides and stuff like that. So it is a revenue. Like the school at Woodhouse Grove, they've got one because it's revenue. I think Menston and St Mary's, they've got one because they can hire it out, can't they? The one reason I don't like them, and that's when I played rugby on them. Well, one used to get massive scars and stuff or whatever, and I've seen professional sports people do that. But the bloody pebbles. Those little
Yeah, the
pellet
rubber
things.
crumbs.
You can't. You just find them all over your house, everywhere. You just can't get rid of them.
Yeah, honestly, like the chopped up car tires.
Stinkers.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the chopped
Shredded
up
car
car tires.
tires.
That's all they are. And when you listen, artificial companies are very good at marketing. Hence, you Eddie, you said 4G, didn't you? We're not at 4G. We're at 3G. That's just marketing.
Worked on me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The G stands for generation.
Right.
So we're still on 3G, which is the rubber infill, and the injury rates are more for rugby league, especially the fast, dynamic forwards, backs, moving all the time, hamstrings, groins, ankles, and things like that. It's just not appropriate at all. If you want to put one in a financial decision and stuff like that, then that's cool. I don't think you're gonna ever, especially I can only talk for rugby league. I don't think you're ever going to potentially sign the caliber of player that you want. They are still want to go to play on grass mainly because of the injury rates and the burns and the cuts and stuff. I just think they have the place, but not in top level elite sport. I don't think.
Not in pro sport. I agree.
No.
We kind of touched on him a little earlier. We've got yourself here. You've spoke about your team, but we know who the real star of the show is, Ryan. Don't pretend you don't know. How is Sherman? Is he good?
He's all right. He's sleeping.
He does a great job.
Sleeping on the job.
Yeah, he's sleeping. He's had his tea. So we have to give him diet food because he puts weight on too quick.
Is that sorry? I'm a big dog person. I think Reese is as well. Is how old is Sherman? Did you just decide one day I'm going to take him with you? Did you need permission from the club? Does he? I've kind of seen I think I've seen a picture of him in changing rooms. So has he got free reign of Headingley, the king of Headingley? This thing.
Yeah, I didn't want a little dog. I wanted a big dog. I always had German Shepherds and stuff when I was growing up, and it was my wife who pushed us to sort of get a pug. And we got drunk one night and said, why don't we call the next dog we get Sherman? So we did. And
it's a good name.
Yeah, I know it's quite good, isn't it? And so he's 7.5 now, and he's been coming here since he was 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's grown up here, and it's great because he knows not to walk onto the pitch. He knows to walk around. He still runs off every now and again just because he's hungry, and he's always looking for food. But he's always running in, and he's running into the tunnel all the time. He knows to go to Glyn, the equipment manager's room, because Glyn gives him treats. So he'll sit there and paw at his door even when Glyn isn't there, and he'll run into the changing rooms and cause havoc. And the only problem is I've taught him to chase birds. Yeah. So it pigeons off the pitch, but obviously, as you can imagine, he isn't your stereotypical gun dog, is he? So
he just gets about 5 meters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he's sweating and blowing. Not sweating, but blowing. And the problem is he gets confused between birds and planes. So, and especially now he's got one eye, it doesn't really help that we're on a flight path. So he'll spot a plane, he'll start chasing over the pitch, trying to bark in it, come back and expect a treat off me and the lads. And we're turning around going, hold on, mate. You're not having one for that. You need to at least make it worth it.
You're having one for that. We're a Jet 2 from Benidorm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're on the flight path. So he's running all over the pitch, barking and stuff. We're all turning around going, there's no birds on the pitch.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's getting a bit older now. So he's getting a bit more tired quicker. So, but it's great for me because I sometimes spend a lot of time on my own as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The lads, so it's great to have him here. I find myself talking to him sometimes.
That's normal, by the way. Talking to your pets is normal. It's fine.
My dog is my therapist.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. I think I'm a dog person anyway. I'm a massive dog person. I'd never not be without a dog. A trip to the seaside's wasted if you haven't got a dog. Pointless.
Silly question then. Have you trained him not to do his business on the pitch?
Yeah, when he was a pup, we had a few instances where he had to be told off, but he doesn't now. He hasn't done since maybe a year and a half. And to be honest, that's not some of the worst things you find on the pitch. Mm-hmm. The worst thing we have to sort on there is you won't notice it a lot, but in back play, a lot of the time, some of the players are throwing up. So nobody will ever notice it really unless you're looking out for it. But there'll be a quick throw up on the pitch, so then you'll see me and my lads, generally my lads actually, will have a bucket of water and they'll splash a bucket of water and run straight back off the pitch. Yeah. So they'll just try and get rid of as much of it, so nobody starts like sliding through it and stuff like that. And we find a lot of Chinese lanterns as well on the pitch. And yeah. A lot of Chinese lanterns and animal damage. We find that all the time. Obviously, foxes. We struggle with foxes, so we find a lot of scratch marks and stuff like that, and toilet marks from female foxes. So.
Do you have, obviously, Headingley is backs onto the cricket pitch. Do you have much to do with the cricket groundsman? Do you work in tandem with them?
Yeah. From me being a kid, from being here, we've always had a good relationship. As ground staff as well, you need to have two sort of departments 200 yards away. So we bounce off each other. It started with my ex-head boss, Jason. He was good at building relationships and stuff. And I've known Andy, the head man over there. And Gareth's been there for years as well. So we always try and bounce off. And if somebody needs something, we always try and help each other out as well. So yeah. It's sort of the groundsman's code really, which is good.
That's good.
So what goes into a match day for you? What does match day look for like you and your team? Because you mentioned a bit about swelling sick off the pitch, but I'm assuming you do. There's more to it than that on a game day.
So at the moment, it all depends on what time of year. So at the moment is really straightforward to us. We have like a menu that we follow at this time of year. I think one thing that's unique as well is there isn't a lot of sports or a lot of places that'll have the double header. Football don't have them throughout Premier League down to League Two, even lower. You never see any football clubs have two games, dear. So that's something that I have to compensate for. So just like the profile that I showed you earlier, which is obviously sand, when people, it's funny actually, because when you see Sky going, the water in the pitch, they're wanting wet ball and stuff like that. Before a game and stuff, I'm not watering for that whatsoever. I'm watering to firm all that up so we can get a quicker surface. So that's why you'll see water on, especially at the moment since we've renovated. I'm watering in the lead up to the first game, maybe at half time of that first game. But then the trick is to have the profile wet, but the top of the leaf dry as possible, so we can have dry ball, so we can play. And that's something that I have to talk to Rowan about, and stuff like that, because the last thing I want, like Mac used to go mental about water. I'm not joking you as well. Honestly, the conversations we had were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, a general day like tomorrow we'll cut first thing. So at the moment we'll cut with our 36-inch InfiniCut cylinders. They're electric, so there's no noise from them really. We'll probably take off in the region maybe 1,200 litres of grass tomorrow. We're cutting at 28 mil at the moment, which is about right for us. We don't want any shorter because we want to try and protect the ryegrass plant from stressing out too much with all the games, and we trained on it yesterday as well. So I'm just trying to provide a bit of cover, and also as well when players hit the surface, that I don't want them to hurt knees and elbows and joints and stuff like that. So it provides a bit of cushion, but it's short enough to be able to play a fast, expansive game on. And then we'll mark out tomorrow because the forecast's fine. Sometimes we'll have to mark out the day before because of the forecast, but generally takes us about 4 hours to mark
it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so many lines. There's so many lines. We go through paint wise. We probably go through about 30 to 40 litres of paint every game. There's so many lines. We've got, then when we had rugby union before and stuff like that, we'd have green paint, red paint, white paint. We've got every different colour you can imagine. In case we get snow, we've got blue. In case we ever get snow and stuff like that. So there's a couple of times where we've marked out in blue in case we've got snow through the game and we have to shovel it off or brush it off so that the referees and such judges can see it. And then we'll test. We do a lot of testing. So we have instruments that we test the pitch with. So like a Clegg hammer to measure firmness, a shear meter, so we can measure what the best studs are to wear on the pitch and moisture as well. Like I've just said, because obviously we want to try and keep the pitch as firm as possible. We're constantly measuring moisture because we want to be around sort of 27-28% within the profile. So yeah,
so much stuff that just completely unaware of. It's fascinating to hear, you know, the whole operation and the growth. It's just, I mean, all we see is a beautiful pitch that either yourself or the club or someone tweets, and we just go, wow. You know, it looks amazing, but then we don't know the process and all the work that you guys put in. We know you work hard, we know that, but now we know. Now it's been really fascinating. I've got a few more questions, not about the pitch as such and your day job. It's more about the game and the Rhinos. What's been your favourite game that you've had at Headingley?
It's a great question. I've probably got three. The first one would be, I can't remember the year, but do you remember when were we like 20 points to 4 down against Saints? Was it 03, 04?
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at that game, yeah.
Yeah, it was just absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed that. The second one were obviously the 15 playoff against Saints. I've never known a man or a player like Kev just to grab a game and say, follow me.
We're winning this. He just said, we're not losing tonight. You're right. Just follow me. Yeah, we're doing this.
It was just unbelievable. And the atmosphere were ridiculous as well. It was absolutely unbelievable. I was in the exit of the South Stand because our office was under there in the old South Stand. It was just bouncing. It was absolutely brilliant. It made the hairs stand up on your back of your neck and your arms and stuff. And the third one would be the Huddersfield game in COVID when Gailey knocked the chop goal over. I've never like that comeback. It was like Catlands the other week, wasn't it? But because it was weird because there was no crowd. And my lads were ball boying, so I was on my own. So to get in the red zone, you had to have a certain amount of tests, COVID tests through the week and stuff like that. So you're having to wear a mask and stand there with your pass on, with your numbers on, and all, your nose is killing from all the tests that you've had to go through. And when Gailey knocked it over, I could hear three things. I could hear the players cheering. I could hear the director's box with Rob.
That's Rob.
That'd have been Rob Oates,
yeah. I can hear Rob. And I started off like running down the touchline down South Stand, and I've got this mask on, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm running down the touchline, and I'm like, what am I doing? The game's finished. I need to get on with my job. I need to work. So I've stopped, and I've gone. I need to go get my thought. What am I doing? So it was just brilliant.
That must have been so surreal to be there in an empty stadium, watching the Rhinos play a Super League game. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, and do you know what? I think sometimes as a club we take some unwarranted stick, but we stuck our hands up as a club and as a stadium and turned around and said, we'll host all the games.
We'll do it, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. That is a logistical nightmare. Testing, the amount of passes and scanning and people you're allowed in zone 1, 2, 3, 4. That you can't go this way, but you can go that way. I'm having to prepare the pitch and stuff like that, and it was a logistical nightmare. And I just think it's testament to us as a club, where we said to the sport, you know what, we'll do it. We'll do it. So it was great.
Yeah, and it was great to see rugby league back as well. We have to thank you all and everyone that did bring it back, because I think as a country, sport kind of, in a sense, lifted everybody when it did come back. Even though in football and everything, that all sport where there were no fans there, but the fact we could watch live sport, it really lifted everybody. So you're absolutely right to give yourself a pat on the back, and everyone should. Yourself and the club as a whole did brilliantly. So Ryan, you've been at the club 19, 20 years now?
Yeah. So
you've seen some incredible players put on that Rhino shirt for Leeds. You mentioned Kev there. I'm sure he's up there. What were some of your other favourites that you've seen play down at Headingley?
I mean, I can't rank them. I can't.
Oh, no. I can if you need me to.
Yeah. Well, you've got all the usual, aren't you? JP, Mag, Kev, Rob. Obviously, Rob would just. I don't think we'll ever see a player like him with his height and his movement and stuff like that. And I always like watching Joe Moon. He was like Callum, where he glided across the pitch. And the good thing as well for me is that I can see the work that they put in to make themselves into that player. So, like I remember with Callum, he worked for months and months with Jason Davidson on a program where he was too slight. Jason put him up, and he left one season. I can't remember the season, and then the season he came back from the end of the season. He was just unbelievable. Not just the step, but the strength to get past people. And Brett Delaney, Frogger, I think, as a guy to change position, and I've never seen a bloke put as much. He's like JP level of like, I am running through brick walls. Yeah. I give me that ball, I am running through that line. Yeah. I can't walk. I've got 2 broken legs, but I'm running through that line.
I'm going to say towards back end of Brett's career, every time he played, he was like 90% tape, wasn't he?
He had tape everywhere, didn't he? He had tape everywhere. Well, he was great with Brett as well, because he and it's good with the playing side of it as well, because as you can imagine, especially within in the environment that we have, there's always a lot of laughs and stuff going on, and Brett did an hour when he was at Parramatta being a groundsman and stuff, and even like the other day I messaged him about something when he got the York job, assistant job. I was messaging and he was like, "Yeah, if you need me to come help you, then I will do. I'll show you how it's done and stuff like that." You're like, "Oh, mate, you can barely walk now. Don't start giving me that." So
who's catching your eye in training at the moment then in the current squad? If you can,
it's the obvious ones, isn't it? That everybody sees. The thing is, though, as well, you've got to remember is you don't just see the player, you see the lad.
Yeah.
So
that's unique.
You take the lad into it, and you take somebody who's naturally talented like Harry. He could pick up the ball and beat 5 men quite easily, and you've got lads who just work really like Dono. Dono, just because of where he's come from and his career path and stuff like that, he just works really, really hard, and he's a good lad as well. It's all the ones that people see, but it probably we see more because of the lad as well, that we take that into account as well. So I ain't really give you an answer to that, have I? But I don't really want to.
Jared called Harry Newman the teacher's pet, didn't he?
Oh, no, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Said he's Rowan's pet.
I won't necessarily say that. I won't necessarily say that. Although I can't. I mean, Rowan's as a head coach, he's been brilliant for me since he came in. He's been absolutely brilliant. He takes training barefoot.
As in, he does, or he demands the players do.
No, he's barefoot.
Just feels like such an Aussie thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. You couldn't get any.
No matter the weather. No, I'm barefoot.
Barefoot or thongs. Oh, thongs are people that's what they call flip flops in Australia. By the way, just out there, just in case anyone doesn't know.
Is there like a specific reason? Is it like what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when
like grounding.
no, what's the word? Superstitious. Is it like a superstitious thing for him to take training barefoot, or is it just a random thing he likes doing?
No, I don't know. To be honest, it's quite odd to see it, especially in the UK. But
Yeah,
he can coach with no clothes, and if we get 6
I'm about to say if he wants to put a thong on and do it in just a real English thong, if we keep playing the way we are.
Absolutely. So it's not. It as a head coach, every head coach who's sort of been here, they've all got their intricacies and different things and stuff like that. I always try to have a really good relationship with every head coach, because we're messaging all the time, like after clock, early in the morning, not just about our pitch and stuff like that. I have 99% an idea how other pitches are going to play when we play away and stuff like that, and stud selection and weather. Weather can affect potential team selections. Do you go with 3 forwards or 2 forwards or 4 forwards on the bench if you know the pitch is gonna cut up very easily? So any sort of input that you can have is great, and every head coach was different. Blue was great. Smithy were great. Mac were great. Mac were great. He was absolutely great. Do you know what? He takes a lot of stick. But
I don't know why. I don't know why, Ryan.
I don't agree with it.
I do not know why.
I don't agree. He was obviously in charge when I first took over, and on my first day, he rang me and said, "I need you to come down to Kirkstall." It's a true story. And I've gone down to Kirkstall, and I've gone upstairs to his office, and I've looked through the window, and he had the corner office, and he was there, and he's gone like that, and I've gone in, and there was all the coaching staff. So he's gone, "Right, sit down there." He's gone, "I want you to tell me why that pitch is rubbish up there." I went, "In rubbish?" He goes, "It is." And we went on this 5-minute like back and forth and stuff like that, to the point where I was just getting really frustrated and really angry because he wasn't like listening to me, and he just started laughing, and all the coaching staff started laughing and stuff like that. I went, "Oh, are you doing me head in? I'm not listening to this." And I walked out, and he started laughing, and he rang me up. He rang me up that afternoon and said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in my office." And he came to see me. He went, "That was brilliant." He goes, "That's just what I wanted." He goes, "You fought your corner when you knew you were right." And we had a coffee, and then following that, we had some arguments. Don't get me wrong, especially after the flooding and stuff. But he demanded a certain level, from people, and he a little story about him as well was, if Kirkstall was becoming a bit untidy and stuff, he used to get all the staff emailed, and all the staff, and no matter who you are, we all had to go down to Kirkstall. He stood on top of the box at the end of the gym and said, "We do not accept this. We are here. You walk past a piece of rubbish, you pick it up and you put it in the bin."
Absolutely, yeah.
And and it's the same with every head coach we've had, really. They're all great, and he's really good with me and my lads as well. It's really good to have a mutual respect.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on earlier that you've been to Highbury, and I'm sure you've seen some other great stadiums. What do you think's the best stadium? Have you been to a good stadium? What's the best stadium you've actually been to?
He throws it.
Have we got you? Are you back? Oh, I think we've lost him, Reese.
Are you back?
Oh, are you there?
Are you back? Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
right, we're back on.
We're back. We're live. It's live radio. We're all right. I was just asking, what's the best stadium you've been to, Ryan?
What, been to or been on the pitch?
Both, either or.
I'm fortunate again that you get to go to some very nice places.
Yeah.
Bernabeu, Nou Camp, Allianz in Sydney. That was an impressive stadium. I quite like a good friend of mine is the head groundsman at the Olympic Stadium in Helsinki. And I took my wife
a good
over
friend
there.
out there.
Yeah. It's honestly it's the weirdest, best industry in the world, because it's like everybody knows each other.
I was going to say, because once you get to your level, sorry for butting in, and you're at the pro game, there's not. I suppose it is quite a close knit like union and group of heads grounds people?
Yeah, we're always talking.
Yeah.
And generally what I find is, especially in rugby league as well, is as a sport, people generally they come to me or I'll help them. So when England played at Anfield, Dave Roberts, who was the head man there, I sent my 2 lads, Dan and Leon. They went out to help over there when Kev was still involved with the England setup. So they helped out with the training. The captains run the day before about communication and where to set up certain drills and stuff, and then they work through the day, the match day and stuff like that. And
wow.
Yeah, we all talk. We all get on. There's obviously people in the industry who have very different personalities.
Yeah.
But we're all to quote a guy who I speak to quite often, Dougie Robertson at West Ham. To quote him, we cut grass and paint white lines. That's as simple as it is. We throw fertilizer on it. We have to know what we're doing, and we have to work very hard. And when we boil it down, that's a lot what it is. So,
that's the job.
It's obviously a lot more than that. But
we found that out tonight. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Full blown 24/7, 365 operation. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's it from me, Reese. Would you like to?
Yeah, we've just got a couple from the
mailbag?
mailbag, Ryan, before we can let you,
Sure.
and then we can let you crack on. One's just more of a comment, actually, which is Matt Horton saying that Sherman is the real boss of the operation.
Agreed.
So there's that one. One of mine actually wrote down was you kept referring to the weather forecast. I'm assuming you don't use the Met Office or BBC. Do you have like a special forecasting system, or do you actually use the Met Office? Or
no, I use a selection. So I use Met Office, BBC, MetCheck, XC Weather, and they're all open on my computer. And then I'll look at them all, and then I'll sort of take the middle ground from them. But the most important thing is literally the up to the minute radar. That is absolutely massive. There's times where I've looked at the radar and you look outside and you think there's no way rain's going to come, but you can see it coming up, or it generally comes from the west. From experience, if it comes from the west, a lot of it will disperse across the Pennines. But radar's absolutely massive.
I'm just checking because I'm going on a canal boat on Saturday. The forecast isn't looking great, so I need to see which one's best. Scoey's asking, what's your best tip for keeping grass looking good?
It's the basics. It's only photosynthesis, what we learned in science. It's just water, your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium input, aeration. It is as straightforward as that.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and don't let female dogs go to the toilet on the grass as well if you can.
That's my problem. Tim asks, and you can answer this already, but there might be a different answer for it. Do coaches ask you to prepare the pitch in a certain way to suit the style of play?
No. We always try and prepare it the fastest surface we can. We prepare for the time of year. That it depends, like I said before, about the height of cut and stuff like that. I always try and make it dry, which gets difficult towards the end of the season, because in the next few weeks we'll start, although it's nearly finished, we'll start to get really heavy dews on a nighttime kickoff. So there's things I can do to alleviate like that. So there's products I can spray which will disperse dew, which will hopefully give us dry ball. They're just very expensive, and once you've cut them out, they don't last very long. So yeah, no, when we were designing the stands. When they came through, I had a long conversation with Paul Caddick, because again, the same as Gary, what he's done for the club is unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
I really think they need credit for that. And Paul's rang me up, and we've had a very, very long discussion on pitch widths and dimensions and stuff, because he wanted the stands as close as possible to the pitch. To create as an intimidating atmosphere as possible, and I was very conscious that it was Mac at the time who he wanted the widest pitch possible, which is 68 meters. So I didn't want to eat into that as well. So we're actually quite a big pitch. We're a 200 meters try line to try line, which is quite rare within Super League. Our grass area is 111.2 by 68, whereas the pitch itself is 110.2 by 66.5, because you have to have your 3 metre perimeter again. So we are actually quite a big pitch for Super League, which does lend itself. And it's really weird when there isn't crowd in the stadium. The pitch seems a lot bigger than when there's crowding, and it's really difficult to put across unless you see it. Yeah, it's really weird.
And then there was 2 questions from Graham. One you've kind of answered already, but we'll ask it anyway. How long will the new pitch last now it's been resurfaced?
We
in theory,
in theory, I do it really different here. I plan to not have it for as long as I can. And I'm constantly reviewing that and talking with the management team and stuff of how we're holding up, and I can do certain things to make it last longer, and things like that, sort of aeration and a lot of raking and brushing and things like that. Hopefully, we can maybe get to 3 or 2. It's all relative. It's all relative. Depends on how many events we have. If we do moving forward, so there's a lot of variables in that.
Cool. And then the final question is again from Graham. How many miles do you tend to walk when cutting the grass or lining the pitch?
So when you're cutting your own, it's just under 6 miles. So somebody will be able to work that out. It's a 36-inch mower, and I've just given the dimensions before. So yeah, it's just under 6 miles when you're cutting your own. When we've got 2 mowers, so we do it in around 1 hour and 45 minutes. So that's just under 3 miles that you do. Although you'll see in the World Cup, we'll be doing it a lot quicker because we don't have a lot of turnaround time between training sessions and games and stuff. So we'll bring extra mowers in and stuff like that to allow us to complete that a lot quicker.
Brilliant. That's the mailbag.
Just to finish off, thanks for coming on, by the way, Ryan. It's been fascinating and brilliant. We've been recording for an hour, and it's flown. Honestly, it's absolutely flown. Just to finish up, you kind of spoke about it, but what do you feel the Rhinos' chances are finishing this year? Me, Reese, I think everybody on this podcast now are kind of planning our trip to the grand final and to win it again. How are you feeling in terms of the Rhinos' chances this year?
I for the way we've played, especially over the last few weeks, I don't see any reason why we can't go far. We're entertaining. Yep. We're expansive. Aren't we? It's fun to watch. It is. Isn't it? It's just fun to watch. So I hope we get as far as we can. It'd be nice to go as far as we can, especially after obviously there was the Challenge Cup, but after probably say a barren few years for us as a club with what we've achieved over the last 10, 15 years. I think Harry will be a big miss.
Oh yeah,
I think,
massive.
Yeah, I think Harry will be a big miss. But then on the flip side of that, it gives an opportunity to somebody else.
Absolutely.
To step up. So and with the young players that we've got coming through as well, I think they're fearless. They've got bad craft, but they're fearless, and I think that's something that's really exciting for us as a club. To see the last few weeks as well, I think has probably give people a lot of enjoyment and hope moving forward.
Yeah. What I took from that, Reese, is we're going to win it again.
Yeah. That was the political calm way, rather than me and you just come out and go, grand final, win,
Grand final, win, World Club Challenge.
Be
Ryan,
again.
Yeah, again. Thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate your time, and go the Rhinos.
No worries. All cool.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.